Imagine breaking into an empty house, bypassing the locks with ease, and stepping into the living room, only to leave without taking a single cent. Instead of stealing, our narrator broke in specifically to leave things behind. They might place a neatly folded, unfamiliar blanket on the living room couch, or leave a bright pink hair tie sitting conspicuously on the edge of the master bathroom sink. They thrived on the imagined aftermath, the high-volume accusations, and the lingering suspicion between partners that would haunt the house long after the narrator had slipped away into the night. Looking at this diagram, you can see how a person's daily schedule overlaps with the blueprint of their home to reveal exact windows of opportunity. The narrator spent weeks obsessively tracking their victims' routines to calculate the perfect time to strike. The true rush came from the psychological weight of the act, secretly infiltrating someone's most intimate sanctuary and proving that their private life was entirely accessible. Operating in the shadows like this breeds a specific kind of arrogance. Every successful infiltration made the narrator feel entirely invisible and untouchable. They operated with a sense of complete dominance, convinced that their mastery of the shadows made them the only player on the board. But that control relied on their own home remaining a sanctuary. By assuming their own four walls were an impenetrable fortress, they left a massive blind spot for anyone capable of playing the exact same game. The reality of that blind spot materialized on a perfectly normal Tuesday. The narrator came home from work, locked the door, and walked into a house that looked undisturbed, until they glanced at the kitchen counter. Sitting dead center on the marble was a small glass vase holding a single yellow flower. Right beside the glass was a folded piece of paper. Written across it in careful cursive were 5 words: "We know it was you." For someone who knows the exact mechanics of picking locks and slipping through windows, a breached perimeter is a death sentence for peace of mind. They understood immediately how easily their own security had been dismantled. The illusion of safety dissolved in an instant. The narrator was forced to face the reality that the secret observer was now the one being observed. The situation accelerated the very next afternoon. After a brief trip to run errands, the narrator returned to find the lock still engaged, but the interior compromised once again. The intruder had returned. This time, a dead bird lay on the counter, accompanied by a new note that simply read, "We're coming for you." Suffocating panic set in. The narrator ran to the bedroom, pulling a duffel bag from the closet to frantically pack enough clothes to escape to their parents' house. Even behind a locked bedroom door, the space felt utterly foreign. Every slight creak of the floorboards suggested eyes were watching from the corners of the room, tracking every panicked movement. The presence of the dead bird removed any remaining doubt. The psychological taunts had shifted into an explicit physical threat, completing their transition from the hunter to the hunted. Mid-pack, the narrator froze. Echoing up through the metal floor vents came the distinct sound of slow shuffling, followed by the low, muffled murmur of voices coming from their own basement. They dropped the bag and crept down the hallway. Every step took agonizing concentration until they finally reached the basement door, inching it open to reveal the pitch-black stairwell. They took a single, trembling step onto the top wooden stair. It groaned under their weight. Instantly, from the absolute darkness below, a sharp, collective sound hissed up. "Shh!" A collective shh confirmed a group of people was waiting in the dark. The narrator slammed the door shut, sprinted to their car, and sped away without looking back. The audio confirmation from the darkness proved the psychological game had become a trap. They had been successfully flushed out of their own home. It took a full week to muster the courage to return. The plan was to pack up their belongings and leave for good, but upon pulling into the driveway, they saw the front door resting wide open. Inside, the kitchen had been transformed. The counters were covered in a rotting shrine of dead birds and scattered yellow flowers. Resting in the center of the display was the most personal artifact of all, a tiny toy car. Upon closer inspection, the toy mirrored the narrator's life with impossible precision, matching the exact make, model, and color of their own vehicle. The intruders had breached the perimeter of the home and extended their surveillance into the narrator's daily life, proving they were being followed everywhere they went. Leaving everything they owned behind, the narrator walked out of the house for the last time and got into their car to flee. As they put the car in drive, movement caught their eye. Across the street stood an unknown older couple. The man was completely motionless, staring at the narrator in dead silence. Next to him, the older woman offered a slow, casual wave, holding up the exact same small yellow flower left on the kitchen counter. The narrator now lives in a state of permanent hypervigilance. They are deeply paranoid, jumping at every shadow and carrying the weight of a life forever changed. The scales of justice will often balance in unexpected ways. For someone who played with the safety of others for sport, the ultimate punishment was being forced to feel the exact terror they once found so